It starts in a moment you didn't fully think through, a quick decision, a small action, and suddenly everything begins to move faster than you can control. Because in the United States, once a theft is suspected and law enforcement gets involved, the situation shifts immediately from a simple incident into a formal legal process that can follow you from arrest all the way to the courtroom and beyond. What many people don't realize is that this process is not just about what happened in that moment, it is about how the system responds, and once it starts, it can be complex, stressful, and life-changing in ways that are difficult to reverse. The first stage often begins with suspicion, usually by store security, employees, or surveillance systems, and in many cases, businesses have the legal right to detain a person for a reasonable amount of time if they believe theft has occurred, which means you could be stopped before leaving the store or shortly after, taken to a back room, and questioned about the situation. At this point, many people believe that returning the item or explaining themselves will end the issue, but that is not always how it works, because the store may still decide to involve law enforcement, especially if they believe there is enough evidence to support a charge. Once the police are called, the situation becomes much more serious because now it is no longer just a store matter, it is a criminal case. And depending on the circumstances, officers may question you, issue a citation, or make an arrest on the spot. If an arrest is made, you are taken into custody and the process moves into what is known as booking, where your personal information is recorded, fingerprints are taken, photographs are captured, and the official charges are filed. This is often the moment when people realize how serious the situation has become, because what seemed like a small decision has now turned into a formal entry into the criminal justice system. After booking, the next step is usually arraignment, which is your first appearance in court, and during this stage, the charges against you are formally presented, and you are asked to enter a plea, typically guilty, not guilty, or no contest, and this decision can have a significant impact on how your case moves forward. In some cases, bail may be set, allowing you to be released while your case continues, but in others, especially if there are prior offenses or more serious charges, you may be required to remain in custody. This stage is critical because it sets the tone for the rest of the legal process. Following arraignment, the case moves into the pretrial phase, where both the prosecution and the defense begin to build their arguments, and this stage can involve multiple hearings, evidence review, and negotiations, because prosecutors will rely on evidence such as surveillance footage, witness testimony, and any statements made during the incident, while the defense may challenge the evidence, question the circumstances, or argue that the legal requirements for theft have not been fully met. In some cases, this stage may lead to a plea agreement where the charges or penalties are reduced in exchange for a guilty plea, but whether this option is available depends on the details of the case and the laws of the state. If the case does not resolve during the pretrial phase, it may proceed to trial, where both sides present their arguments before a judge or jury, and a decision is made based on the evidence presented. This stage can be lengthy and stressful, as it involves formal procedures, witness testimony, and legal arguments that determine the outcome of the case. If a person is found guilty, the case moves into the sentencing phase, where the judge determines the appropriate penalty based on the severity of the offense, the circumstances, and any prior criminal history. The penalties for theft can vary widely depending on whether the charge is classified as a misdemeanor or a felony, with misdemeanor cases often resulting in fines, probation, or short-term jail time, while felony cases can lead to more severe consequences, including longer periods of incarceration. In addition to criminal penalties, there may also be civil consequences, such as financial demands from the store, which are separate from the criminal case and can add to the overall impact of the situation. These combined consequences can create both legal and financial challenges that extend beyond the courtroom. One of the most important aspects of this process is the long-term impact of a theft conviction, because once it becomes part of your criminal record, it can affect your ability to find employment, secure housing, and pursue certain opportunities, as many employers and landlords conduct background checks and consider criminal history in their decisions. This means that the effects of a single theft case can continue long after the legal process is over, shaping your future in ways that are not always obvious at the beginning. For non-citizens, the process can carry additional risks, as certain theft convictions may affect immigration status, potentially leading to visa issues, denial of residency, or even deportation, which adds another layer of seriousness to the situation and highlights the importance of understanding the full impact of the charges. What may seem like a local legal issue can quickly become something that affects an entire life path. The reality is that the journey from arrest to court in a U.S. theft case is not just a series of steps. It is a process that can reshape a person's life, because each stage carries decisions and consequences that build on one another. And once the system is in motion, it can be difficult to stop or reverse. What begins as a single moment can turn into months or even years of legal proceedings, financial costs, and long-term effects that follow you into the future. In the end, understanding this process is about recognizing that theft is not just about the act itself, it is about everything that comes after, from the initial detention to the final court decision, and how each step can impact your freedom, your record, and your opportunities moving forward. That is why knowing what happens from arrest to court is so important, because once you enter that system, the consequences are real, the process is serious, and the outcome can shape your life in ways that are far greater than you ever expected.